Okay, Year 4, we're going to kick off our new science topic by having a think about what we already know about forces, and you're going to see some clips, and there's also a clip you could watch in the description below. And then we're going to have a go at making a mind map of all the things we think we know already. Which of these ideas do you agree with? Which of these ideas can you explain? Are there any ideas here that you don't think are true? Can you explain why you think that? What do you think? Which person do you agree with? And why do you think they're right? We can have a talk about it in our Zoom meeting later. Hope you enjoyed those clips of some forces in action. Now I've got my colours, and you could use any pens you've got at home, or you could use colouring pencils. We're going to have a go at drawing a mind map like we would for the beginning of any unit to think about what we already know. So what do you already know about forces? So we're going to put forces in the middle of our mind map. Now, if you want to add pictures and diagrams as you go, you can. Okay, so let's think about what our different branches are going to be. So the concepts we're going to focus on are gravity, friction, air resistance, and the last one is water resistance. So now I want you to try and add to the mind map what you think you already know about these forces, concepts. You could draw some pictures. You might not know a lot at the moment, and that's okay. It's okay to be in the pit at this point because we haven't done any learning about these four things. But maybe you could do a bit of research, but really don't worry, because hopefully by the end of the unit, we can go back to our mind map and we can add some more details to show what we've learnt. So gravity, I'm going to start with. I know a little bit about gravity. I think it's something to do with a famous scientist called Isaac Newton. And if you want to learn a bit more about him, I've put a link in the description to a video that's really good that shows some more examples of forces in action. And it talks a little bit about who Isaac Newton is, but that's going to be our lesson for next week. And Isaac Newton, I'm going to draw an apple. He's the famous guy who had an apple dropped on his head. And I wonder if you can think about what that taught him. Okay, now friction. I know sometimes you can have good friction that is useful, like the brakes on a bike or on a car. So I'm going to have a go at drawing a bike. Don't laugh at my drawing, I'm not the greatest drawer, but I'm going to give it a go. So having my brakes on my bike, that's an example of good friction. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about at the moment, that's fine, because we will unpick all these ideas through the term. Sometimes we can say that there is a lack of friction. So someone slipping over, for example, on an icy road, there was a lack of friction and therefore they hurt themselves. Sometimes, though, it's good to have a lack of friction. For example, if you like to ice skate. Now, I'm not very good at drawing an ice skate, but I'll give it a go. Okay, so going ice skating, even though there's a lack of friction, it's a good lack of friction because it's fun. Okay, let's have a think about air resistance. Now, what do I know about air resistance? I think it's something to do with, I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's something to do with parachutes, maybe. I'm going to draw a little person on a parachute, holding on, falling to ground. I think something happens with the parachute, which means they fall much slower. But I'm not 100% sure about air resistance. I'd have to do a bit more research. Now, water resistance, that's to do with floating. There must be some kind of force that pushes up to make things float. And I guess water resistance must act on boats in the sea. But again, not 100% sure if I know much about water resistance. But I've had a go. Okay, I'm going to think now about some words that maybe I know from previous forces work I've done lower down the school. So, pushing, pulling, making things move, and speed. I think that's got to have something to do with forces. I'm just going to go back to gravity because I think it's got to be a mention what I know about zero gravity and space, floating due to lack of gravity. the moon. One more thing I've just thought about is springs. Pushing a spring down till it pops up. So here's my completed mind map, Year 4. Have a go, see what you know already. Think about what words you could put on and what pictures you could draw.